Take it away.
3, 2, 1.
1.
Good afternoon.
I'm leaving that first bit in.
Yeah, good.
For sure. It was so good. It was clean.
JD's and Lettleman.
Oh, no, don't.
He's taking my whole gig.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, I want to just start this episode on something really happened that just really pissed me off. So the three of us are sitting here across the table and I send Ben the text and then he proceeds to read the text out. So I'd love to hear the audience opinion. If you're in a group setting and someone texts you, do you call them out or do you just read the text and leave it?
Firstly, didn't call you out. I looked at the text and went, no one else is going to understand if I just say that out loud.
Yeah.
So well done, Cam.
Cool.
Okay.
Do you want to tell the audience?
No. It's not noteworthy.
Yeah.
So that's probably, the only thing interesting that happened my weekend. What about you boys?
So
What do you mean? We had a great day yesterday doing something.
Been?
We had a great day yesterday doing something.
We had a bottomless brunch.
Yeah.
Everyone came together.
Why?
Well, let's just say it was to celebrate
celebrate.
all of us being friends
Yeah.
and everything we've achieved in this first quarter
We
of the
did
year.
get to the bottom of the brunch.
Yes, we found the bottom.
We found the bottom.
Yeah, so false advertising. Calling you out, Chambers. No.
2 hours is the bottom.
Doxed.
Like, I think it's just funny. Like, it was meant to be for celebrating finishing 75 hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we're just back to drinking.
Yeah. And not only just drinking, day drinking.
Drinking, bottomless
Lesson
brunch.
learned.
Speaking of the
No,
bottom,
like-
we're there.
Mira and I finished it. We're like, let's just revert back to drinking.
Made negative progress financially, physically.
Yeah. Back to 75 easy.
Yeah.
I actually, like, throughout the thing, I was like, to Mira, I was like, do you reckon, like, if you're going this hard in, I don't know, fitness or something, like, you're trying to go over the edge, you'll regress back because you now hate, working out that much. Like, you've created a negative.
Yeah, well, that's everyone that
association
does like a bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
They absolutely obviously starve themselves for that 16, 18, 25, could be like a 30-week prep. You
Yeah.
get to the stage, you do it, and then people can put on anywhere upwards of like 10, 15 kilos the week or two after because you just absolutely binge.
Yeah.
Dirty bulking.
Yeah, not
Right.
even dirty bulking, just binging.
Or just
'cause
binging.
You just
Binging food.
eat everything that you've been craving for the last however long.
Yeah.
And it's literally the most terrible thing for your health. And it's so crazy because it's you're a bodybuilder, you're there for fitness and health.
Yeah,
but it's pushing your bodies to these massive extremes.
That's crazy.
And when you think about it too,
yeah.
you've completely dehydrated your body to get as peeled and lean on stage. So then you're putting on all that water weight and all that physical weight. So I guess it kind of depends.
It's tough in that sense because, I guess there's probably heaps of people that, might go so heavily into some area of their life and you just lose the passion for it or lose the excitement you had for it
100%.
because you've just, burnt yourself out.
Yeah.
So then you're, regressing back and you're like, I don't even want to touch that area of my life.
Yeah, but did you and Mira probably come away learning more about yourself, and you've after that 75 days you actually got something to take with you into the next however many years into the future or the rest of your life to be this is the most disciplined thing we've ever done in our life. Yeah, I can go back and regress to drinking and stuff like that, but I don't think you will. I don't.
No.
We had a blowout yesterday, but that's it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're
Yeah.
done. We won't do that again.
No,
Well, for a while, but it's the discipline I think that you'll take forever, right?
100%.
And that's not just going to regress overnight.
No way. I think it just proved what other habits you want to continue to keep. And potentially it's not 2 45-minute workouts a day, but it's probably still fitness every day.
Yeah.
Or trying to ease off drinking because it was just, felt so clear having no alcohol in your system for 75 days.
Yeah.
And then all those other habits that you sort of build. So I think that discipline that you've built over that time is, you said, something you're going to carry it.
Take that away.
Yeah.
I saw a post this morning where they're saying the top of the caption was "Don't do 75 hard," and her reasoning. So she was a fitness influencer, and she was saying if you're trying to get on top of your fitness, you're not achieving balance by doing a challenge like that.
Yeah.
But the way I have it in my head is people that have really delved down an unhealthy lifestyle, this is a really good opportunity to have a really good reset because people are losing 10, 15, 20 kilos off it. Reset your baseline, build the habits, but most importantly, build that mental fortitude.
Yeah, that's true. I was talking to my mate Chris. Shout out Chris. Basically, like I saw him out a couple weeks ago and mentioned that like I was doing 75 hard, and he's currently a trainer at the ground.
Yeah.
And basically, like he said the same thing. Like he sort of just doesn't like 75 hard because it's not sort of sustainable in that sense.
Yeah,
Especially
it's not meant
like
to be.
yeah, like if you're trying to build muscle, it's not always sustainable to.
Yeah.
You need that rest.
Because you could say the same thing about training for a marathon. Like, I feel like, again, you're training for a goal. It's building that discipline. It's proving that you can do something. Running,
42K
five, six times a week
Yeah.
is not great on your joints or your body or anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's, to prove to yourself that you can, and then you kind of get on with life from there.
Yeah.
So that's really
Fair.
interesting.
Very fair.
So, yeah, anyway, congratulations again.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank
Yeah.
you boys for coming yesterday. It was a fun day.
Just happy to celebrate with you.
Man, we had a great time at the Chambers. And then where else did we go?
Well, we did pickleball.
Did pickleball
I
yesterday?
love
Loved it.
pickleball. I love pickleball.
Bro, who are you talking to? No,
The audience. I said yesterday, my goal is to conquer every obscure sport in Cairns. I'm starting one at a time. We've done squash, gonna do pickleball next. Everything.
Yes.
Yeah. It's good fun, eh?
It was so good.
And like 2 hours just passed like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were so friendly. Everyone
Yeah.
there, pickleball community.
Pickleball. So for anyone who's never heard of those two words put together, pickleball, what is it? It's huge in the States.
Oh, it's been
I was
massive.
explaining
Really
it.
big.
It's a mix between like table tennis and real tennis.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
it's like tennis on a smaller court, but
Yes.
then like
But
But
obviously
bigger
not
than
grass.
table tennis.
Yeah, yeah. But you've got the paddles.
And pick it up really quick.
Yeah. I remember when I was like doing business coaching, like a bunch of years ago, like this is probably 6 years ago, I was doing some like digital marketing training with this woman, and she was like, "Oh, you need to get into pickleball. Like you need to like start looking into it, invest in it. Like it's going to be massive." And this was like 6-7 years ago. I'm like, I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
And then like now it's like sort of been massive in the States,
Yeah.
growing everywhere else.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to come down to PCYC.
Please join us. Yeah.
You don't
Get
want
that smoke.
Yeah. Are we friends? We share experiences and interests.
So what are we talking about today, boys?
Good. Yes, we were talking about an article by the Psych website, PSYCHE.
Yeah.
For anyone who's not familiar with that, go check it out. They've got articles by a bunch of interesting writers and psychologists and therapists, and they cover off so many cool ideas.
Yeah.
So this one comes via way of Cameron, and the article was called "Is It Better to Have Friends Who Are Like You or Different from You?" by Christian Jarrett. And let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think there's a different, perspective you can take from initially when I first read this, my mind went to the concept of like yin and yang, like having people that are different, but they're like two puzzle pieces that fit together.
Yeah.
So you've always got like the extrovert and the introvert, the agreeable versus the dominant, and like those kind of different personality traits. So I went down that line of thinking, but then also similar people have similar personality traits and similar interests, which then creates that shared experiences.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be either way. And I also think you build a friend group around different personality types. Like you're never going to have a friend group that's all going to be similar. And we already saw that when we did our Big 5 personality tests.
Yeah.
There was difference. But I think the really interesting part of it outlines this articles of which of those traits interact well together.
Yeah, it was cool that the study that they did actually referenced the Big 5 Ocean Personality Test, which for the OGs, we did that episode a couple episodes back now, where we each did the Big 5 Ocean Test for ourselves to see whether we were normal or neurotic weirdos. Turns out we're all weirdos.
Yeah.
So
Big surprise.
Yeah, huge surprise. So it was really
Drum roll.
interesting because they did this study of like 200 friendships.
Yeah.
That lasted over 10 years.
Yeah.
And what they found out from it, it was pretty interesting because, like you said, you think great friends are like a yin and yang, where it's different. Whereas it wasn't necessarily the case.
No.
Some of those Big 5 Ocean personality traits were what was perceived as people having good friends.
Yeah.
And those things were perceived as being open-minded, conscientious, and agreeable were more likely to say that that person was a good friend, regardless of how that friend rated their own personality. So you may rate low in conscientiousness, agreeable, and open-mindedness, but they were the 3 personality traits that from this study were perceived as someone saying, yeah, I've got a good friend because of these things. They were the traits that kept coming up, regardless of whether even you think yourself have those traits.
So is that like their friend rating them?
Yes. Yeah. So it's like they talked about in the study, like perceived friendship.
Yeah.
And what was cool is that whether you were like the personality test also tested whether you are like introverted or extroverted, and those traits are neither resonant with introvert or extrovert. Like it's not skewed towards either one.
No.
It did say that the extroverts tend to be the ones who are perceived to be like good friends.
Yeah.
But it's probably leading back to they are extrovert in that they're open-minded to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Therefore, someone's going to connect with them more by logic of, I guess, scale of like how many things you're saying yes to because you're an extrovert. You're going to hit someone and you're going to be friends with someone that way.
Yeah. It also said they were more satisfied with their friendship if they were extroverted, right? Which kind of also makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if you enjoy and you get sort of energy from talking to people or being around people, you're probably going to be more satisfied being around your friends in those friendships.
That's
or
it.
you perceive it that way.
Yeah. And don't feel like afraid if you know that you've done the Big 5 Ocean test and you're more of an introvert, that you think people will perceive you as less of a friend, because what this study was saying is that that is not the case at all. Whether you are extrovert or introvert really had no bearing on how you're perceived as a good friend.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I liked it.
The other concept that like we've come across, and I think we've spoken before too, is the difference between shared interests versus like shared experiences.
Oh yeah.
And the analogy that they normally use is like, again, your high school friends you have shared experiences with, where your current friends you have shared interests. So you'll notice, like, you know, whenever you go back to your hometown or high school reunions, you'll be sitting around talking about, oh, I remember this one time and we did this one thing and this one teacher and this one party we went to. Whereas now, you know, with your current group of friends, you'll be talking about current things that you're interested in, like pickleball or sport or things that are happening in the news and articles. So I think it's cool definitely to have a balance of both. But I always think that's really interesting too when you're in a different friend group, you're sitting around just seeing where the conversation kind of leads itself. And yeah, like I said, I think you probably do need the balance of both.
Yeah, like those friendships sort of have to develop.
Yeah.
As well, if they're going to continue past that.
Well, you can't really make new friends off shared experiences, I don't think. Like, I feel like a new friendship has to be based off interests, because that's how you start a conversation.
Unless you go through something.
Together. Shared trauma. The spicy memories.
The spiciest of friendships.
Yeah. Anytime anything bad happens now, we just describe it as spicy.
Damn.
Yeah, true.
The spicy heart, the spicy chest tickles is a heart attack.
Well, like if we look,
Good on.
Keep that in.
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at our own friendship, like the 4 of us here.
Well, I wouldn't really describe us as friends. We're more colleagues.
Yeah. Acquaintances.
Yeah.
As you might say.
That's the name of our group chat for context.
No. Friends.
Do you think like we all have more interests or like similar interests? Everyone looked at it.
Everyone's looking.
Yeah, I don't know why you threw it to that question.
Yeah, I definitely think it's shared interests. Because I remember, like, obviously when you spoke about how your friendship started, it was over philosophy and things like that, and then our friendship started over trauma, talked about our breakups and things like that, and then our love for music is where it really brought up, and then Cam and I are the same person, so we obviously have a lot of shared interests. So yeah, I definitely think it is, whereas now it's probably a good mix between shared interests and experiences.
Yeah, because we've created those. But then do you guys also have friends that you might not have similar interests with?
Yeah,
I
I definitely have.
Yeah.
100%.
Because I think I do as well.
I have. when you say interest, do you mean like political values and all that kind of stuff? Like real different type,
that's
real
interesting.
divisive things? Because I have friends with very different political views
Yeah.
and different outlooks on life and everything like that. And whether you're on the right or the left, of the spectrum, I've got very good friends that I have disagreements with over, I suppose, values and I suppose ideologies and beliefs and stuff like that. But the thing that has underpinned us is like a love of live music. Because when you were saying before, you don't think it comes down, it has to be shared interests, not shared experiences.
Yeah.
I've had the shared experiences with that friend that has made the friendship flourish even more because there was no shared interest in really important values and ideologies. We differed on those, but the thing that kept us together, which keeps our friendship like that way, was the shared experience over like something that was so passionate that I'm about, which is music and live music. So is she. And that's what like joined us as friendships in the beginning. And that was immediate.
You sit there and talk about music for though?
We don't. We don't. It's almost like a foundational bed, so to speak. And it's not something that I talk to her about. It's just we inherently know that we've connected over music. Therefore, that's like the foundation work done.
Or even the crutch to build the friendship.
Yeah, very possible. And everything just builds on that or it takes it down. But the one thing that keeps us going through is something that was so important to both of us. And that's what we connected on.
Interesting.
Whereas
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, like I was looking at the interests as possibly less important than potentially the values of how both people sort of like viewed the world. But even in this case, like that sort of makes sense. For you, like you guys are completely different people.
Yeah, we're
but
very
still,
different.
Yeah.
But still very good friends, very close friends. So it's a weird one.
Yeah.
Because I that's not all my friends.
Yeah.
Like there's Damien, but we're the same person. Like we've been mates since we were 7 years old, and now
Damn.
so it's been going on like potentially longer than you've been alive, Cam, which is warped. Like it's probably going on like 23 years.
Wow.
Holy.
Yeah, as best
crazy.
mates.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. And so, if you said, "Well, how do you describe like your friendship with Damien?"
Ride or die.
I don't know. It's just so. I think we've been through everything together, and we've seen everything that it'd be hard to just say like, "Hey, for the purposes of this episode, well, what's the secret sauce?" I suppose. I don't
go back and meet people when you're 7. Like,
Yeah, I
It's literally a
suppose.
time machine, bro.
Yeah. Should have got into the
crazy,
property
man.
market back then too.
People would... Oh, Bitcoin was popping back then.
If
eh?
only I knew. Wasting my time with Harry Potter.
I'm trying to think, like, I can think of, like, maybe, like, a year and a half ago, I have, like, really good friends now that I only met through doing touch rugby.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't have, I don't know, not associated, but, like, I just hadn't met them before.
Just different circles.
Yeah, just different circles. And then we all came together because we had somewhat mutual friends.
Yeah.
But, like, 90% of the team I didn't know. And now everyone is sort of really good friends in that case.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, it's not really an interest over touch rugby. Like, we just came together for some sport.
I think that's a really good bit on like the character trait on like open-mindedness and being like openness and being able to be open-minded, because a lot of people would see those different core values or interests as a barrier of entry to friendship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But if you can keep an open enough mind to work through that and see what other, because people's personalities is not one core trait.
Yeah.
There's a lot that makes up someone's personality. And I'm sure if you dig far enough, it's like the key to networking.
Yeah.
Just keep jumping from conversation till you find that common ground.
Yeah, find what they're interested in. But I guess in that case as well, there's probably instances that we've all had where you're trying to, I don't know, network or meet people, and then you can just totally feel that they're closed off, and it's like, I don't want to be friends with that person because you're just not getting good vibes, good juju from them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo-woo.
Yeah. Well, like you said, you had the friends from touch rugby, but you weren't like bonding over a mutual love of touch footy,
Yeah.
right? It was the foundational base that just brought you together
Yeah.
to do something, which was, I guess, become friends at some point in time.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm not going to gigs with the intent on making friends
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I know that, hey, there's a whole room of people that like this band, therefore, naturally, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And I should really, like,
Start networking.
I should start networking at a gig.
You're like,
Hey,
you're
what's
going
your
around each-
LinkedIn?
You're like dancing just next to the person. Hey, you like these people? Yeah. Want to be friends?
Yeah. Let me recommend a podcast. Yeah, so I think maybe because they talk about, you know, the difficulty of making friends when you start getting older.
Yeah.
Like rather than having that forced closed environment of school and uni, now it's work and therefore you have work friends.
Yeah.
But then like how many other, I suppose, opportunities are there to meet, you know, the like-minded people?
Yeah.
And where do you find these people?
Yeah. I think it's so much harder to make quality friends in primary school and high school than what it is now as an adult.
Interesting take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Before I couldn't necessarily relate to that thing of your analogy with the music, and then I was thinking about gym. I was like, there's so many people that I've met through gym that I only see at gym, I only talk to them about gym, but wouldn't really hang out or do other things with them outside of that, so that you can kind of garner a friendship off that one core interest.
I think
that's
what's really interesting as well is you're really focused on interests, but I think sometimes your interests can be like a byproduct of your personal values. And that's where a lot of the deeper friendships that I know that I've developed have been from not necessarily similar interests, but when your values have aligned. So like with Brody, with your friends from touch rugby, you don't love the sport, but you have a value of a healthy lifestyle, and that's what's led you to do that sport. And they're probably the same. They don't really love that sport, but they want to be healthy, enjoying that sport. Same with the gym as well.
The values.
It's more than just the surface level. Oh, that's a really good point, Cam. Because it's like stripping back, I suppose with live music, it's not just, there's people playing on stage and I like the sound. Like that's not what's doing it. I guess it's what does that music mean to you on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Therefore, if someone else can share that deeper meaningful about and passion for that artist, you're going to be like, damn, like how many conversations and experiences would we have had to have had outside of this experience right now to get to that deep level of resonance between us, when in a hour gig it can just happen like that. Whereas like with gym, it's the blood, sweat and tears that's gone into the foundation of
mainly
gym.
tears.
Just mainly tears. But pumping iron is just like the byproduct.
Yeah.
Whereas like what was the foundation?
Yeah. Have you ever found yourself like in a room before and you're like, oh, these potentially like not my people, like this isn't my room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I have traditionally thought of that as like, oh, this is my room, this is my people, but now I'm starting to think of that as maybe I was just closed-minded and didn't give it the opportunity.
Well,
Do you think
I suppose
that-
it's like don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
But like, what's an example? Do you mean like at a networking function?
No, I'm more just thinking like socially, where I've
Okay.
just been in a room of people and it's either been a friend of friend and just like trying to put myself out there. And I was like, oh, these people don't have like similar values or interests and this is not my group. Like, do you think that there's just inherently people that you just like either don't click with or that just like...
Is it a problem if you don't immediately
Yeah.
click with someone?
Yeah.
I think that's
fine.
just like the human experience of just going with the flow.
I think that's around that like we reposted something the other day on the Betterment about like just honest conversations.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to someone, just like, you're not my person, and then just boost. Just keep it so open and honest.
Or you at a networking event, you're like, I'm really not enjoying this conversation.
No.
So I'm going to go speak to
now
someone
time
else.
that's been on the tip of my tongue. Really talking to you guys, but that's fine.
It was us. Yeah, you did boost out of that conversation when I first met you pretty early, Cam. Why did you give me the time, man?
No, it's interesting. So like obviously takeaways from it is what just trying to be more open and spending a little bit more time getting to know people on a deeper level and leaving yourself open.
sounds simple.
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but per that study of 200 friendships over 10 years, the commonality was agreeableness, open-mindedness, and conscientiousness, which basically summarizes a nice person. That's the
Be a nice
definition of a nice person.
Yeah.
So of all that study, everything has just come back down to, hey, you just being a nice person.
Perfect.
Like, and
Yeah.
guess what? You'll have friends.
I think if we
So ridiculous.
if we look at like how to win friends and influence people, right? One of the things.
Oh
is
yeah, the book on how to manipulate people to be friends. Yeah,
be interested in other people. I think
We manipulate
probably if
each
you go
other.
deep enough,
Yeah.
there is at least
Something
one
there.
thing that you probably have an interest about.
Yeah, it's just whether you've got the patience to
to get through.
to get there.
So you can be patient enough to deal with that person.
Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I think
yeah.
you will sort of connect and vibe with certain people, right?
Because it's interesting, like a lot of when I'm like talking to people trying to make friends, it's just on autopilot and don't actually realize like what I'm doing. But like a lot of time, I was out to dinner with Cass on my sister on Wednesday night, and she was like, "Oh, like what do you do? How do you do it?" and stuff like that. It's interesting. Like a lot of it is, I don't know, like you say, just being a nice person and trying to genuinely be interested in other people. But I think that a big part of that is just putting yourself in new rooms with new people to give yourself the best opportunity.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily matter based on that study that whether you're extroverted to be able to do that or whether you're introverted.
Yeah.
It's, I think your vibe attracts your tribe, and
Yeah.
you'll
I still can't get over you've
that.
been friends with Damo for that long. I did not. Bro, I'm still working.
Let's dig
through
into that.
Think
No,
about
man, I'm just like
it's the
so
exception.
jealous of that. Not in a negative way. I just like people would pay so much money
To bottle.
to have just one really, really close friend that they've been friends with for that long.
Yeah.
Like, think about, like, obviously we've been mates for, what, like 2 years, 2.5 years, or whatever now. Like, imagine having that for, like, 23 years. That's
Yeah, now you're
insane.
saying it out loud. It's too long.
Yeah.
Damo? Oh,
You're
mate,
cut
it's been
off.
great, mate. It's been great. But see ya.
Clip it.
Never.
Oh. So, do you want to be friends for another 20 years?
Yeah. You guys got to take a pause so we can catch up.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah.
I'll just put it in my calendar for 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Anniversary.
For me personally though, speaking anecdotally, like the study aside and all the personality traits and everything aside, the one thing that I can say is the baseline variable factor as to my close friendships, it is the playfulness and nonsense of something that you're bonding with someone over. So I can be absolute, like I'm just a weirdo and be playful, but once like you strike that with someone who is on the same level in terms of like they don't take themselves too seriously, you can say or do anything and there's like no real judgment cast. It's just like it's a truly just
a safe
weirdo.
space.
It's just
Yeah.
you're a weirdo in a safe space with another weirdo.
Yeah.
That has been the one factor that has really provided the foundation for a lot of my really close friendships that have clicked really quickly.
Yeah.
It's normally, but that comes down to my personality of like if there's
You're just
if
a little
someone
goofball.
if someone has a sense of humor, like I love it.
Yeah.
And if someone has a really weird sense of humor as well, and they're not just like, oh, that was a weird thing you said or a weird joke. It's just like, nah.
True.
Like we say
Yeah.
weird shit to each other
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's probably
Sometimes
why.
we text it to each other and then that person reads it out for the
Don't
whole
please,
room.
for the love of God. Also, don't see the reels we send to each other.
That's a good
because it's messed
Yeah.
up. It's messed up.
TikTok algorithm doing us dirty.
Oh yeah.
That's a good point though. Like that ties into open-mindedness then and like a mutual respect
Oh, true. Yeah.
like of each person.
Yeah.
Because if you're like trying to build a friendship or you're sharing a part of yourself with someone and that person
shit
seems
on
like
you.
they're judging
Yeah,
you or,
yeah.
Oh yes, the vulnerability.
like the
Yeah.
vulnerability of saying this is sort of how I feel
Yeah.
and they're just turning around and like
Yeah.
you're such a weirdo for liking that sort of
Yeah.
thing or
Yeah. So be yourself because
Don't kink shame.
Don't kink shame. Be yourself because you'll actually weed out those that you're going to most likely try and put effort into as friends. But if you can just be yourself and your weird self and weed them out right off the bat, then you've done all the heavy lifting in the first like minute.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Of
such a
meeting.
high school thing as well too. It's like trying to be friends with someone. Like I think friendship should come reasonably naturally. You either click with that person or you don't.
That's right.
It's
like-
good mindset, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
I was
for
going
it.
to say, my mum always used to say, those that matter won't mind, and those that mind won't matter.
Yeah.
So just
That's
a little
cool.
bit in there.
Yeah, Mama Ron. I like that.
Shut up. Shut up, Mama Ron.
Where's she at?
Guess next episode.
Yeah.
Just deep dive into fucking
a
Ron's
bar
life.
right there.
Brings out like
Ron's
the
life.
scrapbook.
Yeah.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. It's a good article.
So-
We'll chuck the link in.
Yeah, chuck the link in.
the show notes.
I mean, if you're an adult, you said it's pretty easy to make friends.
Yeah.
What would you say to people trying to make some friends?
I think just putting yourself in as many situations and environments as possible, and like it'll give you the best chance.
Like just trying new things.
Just trying new things. So trying new sports, trying networking, trying literally anything.
Yeah.
And I think just going in that with the right mindset, like you said, people will also going into that if they have the right mindset, you'll click.
yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's easy.
Says the extrovert. Says the extrovert.
No, just like you just I
no, what seems easy to you?
yeah, and I'll say this all
Or
the time.
natural.
Yeah, but then I will sit at home by myself on Friday night and be pulling out my hair because I'm like, what do I
Because
do?
you don't know what to do.
Yeah,
with
whereas an
your own
introvert, it's like
yourself.
that's heaven. So I completely understand that, but I just don't understand it from that perspective. So like I said, I kind of just do on autopilot and feels like comes fairly naturally. I understand that other people might struggle and work through with it, but my thing has always just been like saying yes to as many opportunities as possible, and when you're in that opportunity, just keep an open mind and just try and seem genuinely interested about other people, no matter like how boring they are or anything. Yeah.
Jeez. Just let that one slip through the keeper.
Slide.
No matter how lame they are.
Yeah.
Reach
I remember
out.
the first
Reach
time
out to
we were
us.
talking.
Hey, reach out to the pod if you feel like chatting.
Yeah. If you're boring, I'll tell you. Honest conversation.
No.
No.
Be open-minded. Be a bit vulnerable. Let your walls down. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah.
What about you, bro?
You guys said it all, honestly.
Sick.
Yeah.
To elaborate on what you said.
To
earlier.
elaborate on what
To
you
put
guys
both
said,
of you
I
to-
think, just try and genuinely be interested in people.
I just think it's interesting that.
I just think it's interesting how, like,
I just find it interesting that.
I just find it interesting how you think that we're friends. Like, but yeah, go after your dreams.
I just want to say we're a bit rusty. It's been a couple of
Oh
weeks. So
man, that was shocking. Don't be afraid to go after your dreams, bro.
Bro, you literally just shat on him for sharing, and 10 minutes earlier you're like, oh, just be weird.
No, that's because that is the most cliche, made-up crap you've ever said in your life. I know that's not
like-
you. That's why it's funny.
Just shoot for the stars.
Shoot for the stars.
I think we're still drunk from lunch
Oh,
yesterday,
shocking.
Oh,
My brain just stopped
Absolutely
working. I was like,
bro. On that note,
Started
thank you very
reverting back
much
to
for
mode.
listening, and that'll be all.
All right. Thank you so
Wrap
much
it
for
up.
listening, guys. Love
Get me
you.
out of here.